The Archean science vessel emerged from fold space with characteristic precision, its sensor arrays already probing the third planet of this unremarkable yellow star. Chief Scientist Vexna adjusted her radiation shielding instinctively, even though the ship's protective barriers were operating at full capacity. Like all of her species, she had evolved in the deep caverns of Arceus, where the planet's thick crust protected them from the deadly electromagnetic radiation that bathed the surface. The primitive civilization they detected on this world had piqued the interest of the Galactic Science Council. These humans had achieved rudimentary spaceflight and showed promising development, despite their planet being constantly bombarded by electromagnetic waves from their star. The Council had assumed they must have developed exceptional shielding technology to survive in such conditions. Initial scan complete, Chief Scientist, reported Junior Analyst Kermo, his tentacles rippling with confusion. There must be an error in our instruments. Vexna glided across the bridge to his station. Explain. The readings show billions of unshielded organic life forms on the surface. They're just exposed to the electromagnetic radiation, and they're not dying. The bridge fell silent. It was impossible. Every spacefaring race had evolved in protected environments, deep underground, beneath frozen oceans, or on planets with powerful magnetic fields that deflected radiation. The few species that developed in exposed conditions had thick natural armor or complex biological shielding. Magnify the surface view, Vexna ordered. The holographic display expanded, showing a bustling human city. Humans walked openly under their star's light, their soft flesh seemingly unaffected by the deadly radiation that would kill an Archean in minutes. But what truly shocked them came next. A human child held up a small device, and the sensors detected it actively generating electromagnetic waves. The humans were not only surviving in radiation, they were deliberately creating it. Council Base, this is the ASV Seeker, Vexna transmitted, her voice trembling slightly. Request immediate consultation. We have encountered an anomaly. The response was swift. Proceed with your report, Seeker. The humans, Vexna paused, struggling to articulate the impossible. They're electromagnetic radiation resistant. More than resistant, they appear to have integrated it into their technology, their daily lives. They're using controlled EM emissions for everything from communication to cooking food. The silence that followed lasted several minutes. When the Council responded, their message was terse. Maintain observation protocols. Do not initiate contact. Priority level upgraded to Alpha 1. But it was too late for passive observation. Their ships, despite their advanced cloaking technology, had one critical weakness. They couldn't mask their own radiation shielding without exposing the crew to lethal levels of EM radiation. And humanity, it turned out, had become very good at detecting variations in the electromagnetic field. The first sign that they'd been noticed came from an unexpected source. A teenage human girl pointed her primitive imaging device, what they would later learn was called a smartphone, directly at their cloaked ship. The device's electromagnetic emissions interacted with their shielding in a way that created a visible distortion in her image. Within hours, the human information networks were buzzing with pictures of the ghost ship in the sky. Humanity's more sophisticated sensors began actively probing their location. The Archeans watched in amazement as humans casually wielded detection equipment that bombarded the area with enough electromagnetic energy to make the crew retreat to their emergency shelters. They're trying to communicate, Kermo announced, monitoring the increasing attempts by human authorities to establish contact. They're broadcasting on virtually every electromagnetic frequency simultaneously. Vexna made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Against Council protocols, she ordered their ship to decloak and respond to the human transmissions. As their ship shimmered into visibility over New York City, she reflected that this revelation would shake the foundations of galactic society. The humans hadn't just survived in an environment that the rest of the galaxy considered lethal. They had mastered it. Their very nervous systems were compatible with electromagnetic energy in a way that no other known species had achieved. They didn't need protection from the force that shaped their world. They had evolved to harness it. As the first official transmission from Earth reached their ship, Vexna couldn't help but wonder if the galaxy was ready for a species that treated one of the universe's most feared forces as a tool for sending pictures of their pets to each other. The message was simple: "Welcome to Earth. Would you like to connect to our Wi-Fi?" Vexna had no idea what Wi-Fi was, but she had a feeling it would be just the first of many surprises humanity had in store for the galaxy. The news of humanity's electromagnetic compatibility spread through the galactic community like a shockwave. In the Great Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council on Station Zenith, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered for an emergency session. Their normal decorum had given way to chaos as the implications became clear. Senior researcher Vexna stood before them, her tentacles drawn close in a posture of defensive anxiety. The chamber's heavy radiation shielding hummed as it protected the assembled delegates from the station's routine operations. "The humans don't just tolerate electromagnetic radiation," she explained, projecting images of Earth's cities at night, glowing with artificial light and electromagnetic emissions. They'd built their entire civilization around manipulating it. Their bodies can process and interpret these fields in ways we're only beginning to understand. A representative from the Silicon Collective, their crystalline form gleaming under the shielded lights, raised an appendage. "They are an abomination. Natural law dictates that organic life must be protected from such forces. These humans are either an evolutionary mistake, or they left the accusation hanging. Or their weapons," finished Ambassador Kral of the militant hegemony, their scales bristling. "Think about it. Every ship in our combined fleets depends on radiation shielding. Our communications, our sensors, our very life support systems are built around protecting us from electromagnetic forces. These humans could walk right through our defenses." The assembly erupted again. Some called for immediate quarantine of the Earth system. Others demanded research rights, seeing potential medical applications. The more militant factions openly discussed preventive measures. But in a quiet corner of Station Zenith's diplomatic sector, a very different conversation was taking place. Dr. Lentau, a leading xenobiologist from the reclusive Stellar Republic, met secretly with Sarah Chen, the first human ambassador to the galactic community. "You don't understand," Lentau said, his bioluminescent patches pulsing with urgency. "The Council isn't afraid of what you are. They're afraid of what you represent. Your existence challenges everything we thought we knew about organic life's limitations." Sarah sipped her coffee, a drink that had already become legendary among the station's more adventurous aliens. "We assumed everyone would be like us. Our science fiction always depicted aliens as being roughly similar to humans. Finding out we're the weird ones is actually kind of funny." "This isn't funny," Lentau insisted. "The militant hegemony is already drawing up invasion plans. They see Earth as an existential threat. Your ability to survive unshielded, to actively manipulate electromagnetic fields, it terrifies them." "But we've been nothing but peaceful," Sarah protested. "We've shared our technology, our culture. Hell, we've been teaching alien children how to use smartphones." "That's exactly the problem," Lentau said. "You're changing things too fast. Did you know there's already a black market for Earth electronics? Young aliens are disabling their personal shields to try using your devices. There's a whole underground culture emerging around living unshielded like humans do." Sarah's expression grew serious. "You're not just here to warn us, are you? You want something." Lentau's bioluminescence flickered in what Sarah had learned was a gesture of confirmation. "My government believes humanity's adaptation could be the key to solving our greatest crisis. Our star's increasing radiation output is threatening our civilization's survival. Our shields won't hold forever. We need to adapt, and you might hold the answer." Before Sarah could respond, station-wide alarms began blaring. The militant hegemony had pushed through an emergency resolution. Earth was to be quarantined immediately. All human representatives recalled from galactic space. "It's starting," Lento said grimly. "The hegemony will try to isolate you first, study your weaknesses. Then they'll strike, probably targeting your electromagnetic infrastructure to try to cripple your civilization." Sarah stood, her face set with determination. "They don't understand us at all, do they? Humanity didn't just adapt to electromagnetic radiation. We learned to thrive on it. And if they think they can use it against us—" She smiled, but there was steel in it. "Well, they're about to learn what happens when you try to fight someone with their own element." As she left to face the council, Sarah's phone buzzed with a message. Back on Earth, the global defense networks were already adapting, incorporating the alien tech they'd learned about into something new. Humanity had spent millennia mastering the very force their would-be opponents feared. The galaxy had wanted to know if humans were weapons. They were about to find out that humans were something far more dangerous, innovators who had turned a universal threat into their greatest strength. The research facility deep beneath MIT's campus hummed with activity, both electromagnetic and human. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the center of what her team had nicknamed the Thunder Chamber, surrounded by equipment that would have been considered impossible just 6 months ago. The air crackled with visible arcs of controlled electromagnetic energy that would have killed any alien visitor instantly. To her, it felt like a warm summer breeze. "Power levels stable at 400% above alien safety protocols," reported her assistant, James Chen, cousin to Ambassador Sarah Chen. He didn't bother looking up from his holographic display. Another piece of technology reverse-engineered from alien designs, but modified to work without radiation shielding. The Archean crystal matrix is accepting the modifications. Elena watched as the alien crystal, a component normally used in starship shields, pulsed with a deep blue light. They had discovered that human bioelectric fields could interface directly with the crystalline structure, allowing for control that the aliens had never dreamed possible. What had been a simple radiation shield was becoming something entirely new. "Send the test data to Jakarta and Oslo," Elena ordered. "Let's see if their teams can replicate our results." The global scientific community had abandoned traditional competition in the face of the galactic crisis, sharing discoveries and breakthroughs at unprecedented speeds. On screens around the chamber, feeds showed similar laboratories worldwide working on different aspects of what they now called the Prometheus Project. In Tokyo, researchers had successfully miniaturized alien power cores by removing the bulky shielding. Indian scientists had developed a way to use human electromagnetic sensitivity to navigate hyperspace without conventional sensors. Brazilian engineers had created hybrid computers that used both electronic and alien quantum systems, achieving processing speeds that stunned both human and alien observers. But it was the military applications that had everyone's attention. At a secure facility in the Mojave Desert, the first human-modified alien spacecraft was preparing for its test flight. Unlike the heavily shielded alien vessels, this ship embraced electromagnetic energy, channeling it through systems that would have been suicide for other species to operate. Elena's phone chirped, a sound that still made visiting alien scientists flinch. It was a message from Sarah. "Hegemony fleet movement detected. Multiple battle groups leaving their home systems. Estimate 2 weeks until they reach Sol. How close are we?" "Tell her we're ready for Phase 1, Elena replied after consulting her team. Phase 1 was just the beginning, but it would show the galaxy that humanity's mastery of electromagnetic forces wasn't just a quirk of evolution. It was about to become their greatest weapon. The next day, humanity revealed its first countermove. In a synchronized global broadcast that penetrated even the heaviest alien shielding, Earth's united governments announced the activation of the electromagnetic defense grid. Thousands of satellites, modified with alien technology, began generating an interlaced network of controlled EM fields around the planet. To demonstrate its effectiveness, Humanity invited neutral alien observers to a demonstration. They watched in horror as test drones, built to hegemony specifications, tried to penetrate the grid. The results were spectacular. The drone shields, designed to protect against electromagnetic radiation, instead trapped them in a feedback loop of increasing energy until they overloaded. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, working with quantum communication experts in Osaka, discovered that human brainwaves could modulate the alien crystal's resonance frequencies. This meant humans could potentially control alien technology through thought alone, while the original users required complex mechanical interfaces to avoid radiation exposure. "We're not just defending ourselves," Alina explained to a gathering of allied alien scientists, some attending virtually due to radiation concerns. "We're rewriting the rules of what's possible. Every shield they raise against us becomes a conduit for our power. Every defense they mount becomes another tool in our arsenal." The implications went far beyond military applications. Medical teams were already adapting alien regeneration technology, combining it with human electromagnetic tolerance to create treatments that worked at the cellular level. Agricultural scientists were developing ways to shield crops from harmful radiation, while promoting beneficial exposure, promising to revolutionize food production across the galaxy. As Alina watched the Arxian crystal pulse in sync with her own bioelectric field, she realized that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their immunity to electromagnetic radiation. It was their ability to turn a universal constant that others feared into a foundation for advancement. The hegemony was coming to shut down what they saw as a threat. Instead, they would witness the birth of a new era in galactic technology, one where humanity's unique relationship with electromagnetic forces would transform everything from communication to medicine to space travel. And in the Thunder Chamber, as human scientists worked openly with energies that their alien colleagues could only manipulate from behind thick shields, the future of galactic civilization was being rewritten, one breakthrough at a time. The hegemony battle fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their ships arranged in the infamous Spear of Judgment formation. Over 3,000 vessels, representing the combined might of the anti-human coalition, moved steadily toward Earth. Their shields glowed with power, designed to protect them from the electromagnetic forces they planned to unleash. Fleet Commander Xarvaz stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Inevitable Victory, his scaled armor gleaming under the shielded lights. The human homeworld shone on his tactical display, surrounded by the electromagnetic defense grid that their spies had warned about. "A primitive solution," he declared to his bridge crew. "They think they can turn their abnormality into a defense. Today we show the galaxy why natural law must be preserved." But something was wrong. His tactical officers reported confusion as their long-range scans tried to analyze Earth's defenses. The readings made no sense. The entire planet appeared to be broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously, creating a symphony of electromagnetic noise that their sensors couldn't penetrate. In orbit around Earth, the first wave of humanity's defenders waited. The ships looked nothing like traditional vessels. They were open frameworks of alien crystal matrices interwoven with human electronics, their crews working in environments that would have killed any other species instantly. Admiral Sarah Martinez stood in the command center of the EDS Prometheus, humanity's first purpose-built warship for this new age. Unlike the enclosed bridges of alien vessels, this command center was open to space, protected only by electromagnetic fields that the crew could feel and manipulate directly. "They're proceeding exactly as predicted," her tactical officer reported. "Their formation is optimized for maximum shield coverage. They still think we're going to try to overwhelm their defenses." Sarah smiled. "Send the signal to begin Phase 2. Across Earth's surface, thousands of electromagnetic transmission stations activated simultaneously. But instead of attacking, they began broadcasting a very specific pattern, one that Dr. Rodriguez's team had discovered in their research. The pattern matched the resonant frequency of the alien shield crystals. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The hegemony fleet continued its advance, their shields appearing as strong as ever. Then, Sarvaz noticed something strange. His ship's power readings were fluctuating, but not decreasing. They were going up. "The humans are attempting to overload our shields," his science officer reported triumphantly. "Exactly as we anticipated. Our new reinforced shielding will simply absorb their attack end." The officer never finished his sentence. The shields weren't just absorbing the electromagnetic energy. They were amplifying it. The crystal matrices, responding to the human broadcast pattern, had entered a cascading resonance loop. Every measure of protection the hegemony had built into their ships was now working against them. "Impossible," Sarvaz roared as warnings blared across his bridge. "Shut down the shields." But it was too late. The very technology they relied on for survival had become a trap. Ships across the fleet began losing power as their systems tried desperately to contain the runaway resonance. The few vessels that managed to drop their shields found themselves exposed to levels of electromagnetic radiation that their crews couldn't survive. The human fleet hadn't moved yet. They didn't need to. Sarah watched on her tactical display as the mighty hegemony armada fell into chaos. Some ships were retreating, others were dead in space, and a few desperate captains were trying to push forward despite their failing systems. "They still don't understand," Sarah said to her crew. "They built their entire civilization around defending against electromagnetic forces. We built ours around working with them." Now it was time for the second part of humanity's response. The framework ships moved forward, their crews reaching out with both technology and their innate sensitivity to electromagnetic fields. Using the techniques developed by Dr. Tanaka, they began interfacing directly with the dying alien vessels' systems. One by one, ships of the hegemony fleet found their controls responding to human commands. Their own shields, designed to protect them from electromagnetic radiation, now trapped them in bubbles of human control. The greatest armada ever assembled was being defeated not by superior firepower, but by their own defensive technology. Sarvaz watched in horror as the inevitable victory systems came under external control. The last thing he saw before emergency stasis protocols activated was a human figure walking unprotected through space, approaching his bridge viewport with an outstretched hand glowing with electromagnetic energy. The Battle of Seoul, as it would come to be known, lasted less than 6 hours. Not a single shot was fired. Instead, humanity had turned their greatest perceived weakness into an overwhelming advantage. The galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the Battle of Seoul, the Great Hall of Station Zenith looked very different. The heavy radiation shielding had been partially deactivated, replaced by selective electromagnetic barriers that humans could modulate with a thought. Alien diplomats sat alongside their human counterparts, some still in protective suits, others cautiously experimenting with reduced shielding under human guidance. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the podium, presenting the latest breakthrough from the Prometheus project. Behind her, Ambassador Sarah Chen and Dr. Lentau watched with pride as she demonstrated a device that would change everything. A human-designed electromagnetic modifier that could temporarily grant other species humanity's resistance to M-fields. "The principles are simple," Elena explained to the assembled representatives. "We're not forcing other species to adapt to electromagnetic radiation. Instead, we're teaching your bodies to channel it safely, the way humans naturally do. The process is completely reversible and can be adjusted to each species' unique biology." The implications were staggering. Already, trials on volunteer aliens had shown remarkable results. The first non-human to successfully use the device, a young Arxian scientist, had wept with joy at feeling unfiltered sunlight for the first time in her life. But the medical applications were just the beginning. In the shipyards orbiting Mars, human engineers worked alongside alien technicians to redesign spacecraft from the ground up. The new vessels combined the best of both approaches. Selective shielding where needed, open electromagnetic interfaces were beneficial. Ships that once required massive power plants just for radiation protection were now smaller, faster, and more efficient. The Stellar Republic, under Lenteo's advocacy, had been the first to embrace the new technology. Their dying star, once a death sentence for their civilization, was now powering a renaissance as they learned to harness its increasing radiation rather than fear it. Even the militant hegemony was changing. After the humiliation of Sol, their society had undergone a radical transformation. The younger generation, fascinated by human culture and technology, had pushed for reforms. Now, former Fleet Commander Xar Voz served as their representative to the Human-Alien Technology Exchange Program, his previous certainties replaced by a cautious curiosity about other ways of existing. "We stand at a crossroads," Sarah addressed the assembly after Alina's presentation. For too long, the galaxy was divided between those who hid from electromagnetic forces and those who embraced them. Today, we prove there is a third path, one where each species can choose its own relationship with the fundamental forces of the universe. The changes were visible everywhere. On Earth, special zones had been established where aliens could safely experience human culture firsthand. The sight of alien children playing in Earth's parks, protected by the new adaptive shielding, had become common. Human innovations were transforming everything from communication technology to agriculture across the galaxy. But perhaps the most profound change was philosophical. The galaxy had been forced to confront its assumptions about what was natural or correct for life. Humanity's existence had proven that there wasn't just one way to survive and thrive in the universe. Dr. Lentau, now head of the Interspecies Medical Exchange, summed it up in his closing remarks. "The humans didn't just show us a new way to handle electromagnetic radiation. They showed us that our limitations were largely self-imposed. In fearing what we didn't understand, we had built barriers not just around our ships and cities, but around our minds." As the assembly concluded, Alina watched a group of alien scientists demonstrating their latest project, a combination of human electromagnetic sensitivity and alien quantum technology that promised to revolutionize faster-than-light travel. They worked confidently with equipment that a year ago would have terrified them, their protective suits modified to allow for greater interaction with their environment. "Ready for the next phase?" Sarah asked, joining her at the observation window. Alina nodded, looking out at the stars. Where once humanity had seen their electromagnetic adaptation as simply normal, they now recognized it as a gift. Not because it made them superior, but because it allowed them to help others overcome their fears and limitations. "You know," Alina said, "when we first met the aliens, everyone focused on how different we were. But in learning to bridge those differences, we've discovered something more important: the universal desire to grow beyond what we think is possible." The galaxy was entering a new age. Humanity had shown that what one species feared, another could embrace. As ships departed Station Zenith, carrying the latest innovations to distant worlds, they carried more than just technology. They carried the promise that understanding and adaptation were stronger than fear and isolation. And somewhere in deep space, the next generation of human and alien explorers were already pushing the boundaries of what was possible, their ships riding the electromagnetic waves that once divided them, but now united them in a common journey of discovery.